Introduction. From the moment we have sense, most of us are enrolled in a race. It is an incessant, often silent race with no clear finish line, but its goal seems universal, the pursuit of more. More money in the bank, more career success, more recognition, more security, more love. We run with all our might toward an elusive horizon we call sufficiency, believing that when we finally reach it, we can rest, feel whole, and be at peace. But haven't you noticed a strange and frustrating truth? The faster you run, the further that horizon seems to recede. Every goal achieved reveals a new, higher summit in the distance. The thirst for more never seems to be quenched. This endless chase is based on a fundamental misunderstanding, a premise so deeply ingrained in our culture that we rarely pause to question it. The belief that abundance is an external condition that must be acquired. We believe it is something that is out there, something we must chase, earn, and accumulate. And it is precisely this belief that condemns us to a life of effort and lack, no matter how much we manage to accumulate. This audiobook is here to offer you a radical and liberating truth. Abundance is not something you get. It is something you tune into. It is not a destination you arrive at. It is the place from which you start. Abundance is not an accumulation of things. It is a state of consciousness. It is a frequency you cultivate within yourself that is then reflected in your external world. We have been acting like fishermen, trying to pull fish from a desert, without realizing that we are standing, knee-deep, in the middle of an infinitely abundant river, but our eyes, trained in scarcity, have not yet learned to see the water. The title of this book is The Key to Abundance, but this is not the key to a bank vault or an external treasure chest. This is the key that unlocks the door of your own perception. It is the key that allows you to unlock the awareness of the infinite richness that already exists, both within and all around you. It is not a formula to make you rich overnight. It is a manual to remember how immensely wealthy you already are. Throughout the following chapters, we will embark on a journey of transformation. It's not about adding new, complex achieving strategies, but about unlearning the old limiting lack beliefs. Together, we will dismantle the illusion of scarcity that has been governing your life. We will activate the powerful magnet of gratitude to start attracting more of what you already appreciate. We will explore the power of feeling worthy and deserving of all good things. We will learn the art of giving and receiving, becoming a channel through which prosperity flows. And we will tune your personal vibration to resonate with the very frequency of abundance. The path ahead offers you a choice. You can continue the exhausting external race, chasing a more that is never enough. Or you can pause, take this key, and turn it in the lock of your own consciousness to open the door to a universe of fullness that has been patiently waiting within you all this time. The true wealth you seek is not in your bank account. It is in your consciousness. The question is, are you ready to discover how infinitely rich you already are? Chapter 1. Redefining Wealth. Abundance is an inner state. I ask you to pause for a moment and, with complete honesty, answer this question in the silence of your mind. What image, what feeling comes to mind when you hear the word abundance? If you are like most people, your mind has probably projected images of money, perhaps stacks of bills, a bank account with many zeros, a luxury car, a spacious house, the freedom to travel without worry. There is nothing wrong with that. We have been programmed from the cradle by a culture that has almost inseparably equated the concept of abundance with material and financial wealth. We have been taught that abundance is a quantity, a number, an accumulation of external goods. It is the reward at the end of a long, arduous race. We have built our entire lives upon this premise. We work tirelessly, sacrificing our time, our health, and sometimes our relationships, all with the belief that if we can just accumulate enough out there, we will finally experience a feeling of wholeness and peace in here. But the time has come to question this fundamental belief, because the evidence all around us screams that something in this formula is profoundly wrong. We all know the story, or have seen it in some form. The lonely millionaire wandering his empty mansion, tormented by anxiety and a lack of purpose. The celebrity who has everything, fame, fortune, adoration, yet struggles privately with depression and addiction. These are not just anecdotes. They are warnings. They are proof that the accumulation of external wealth does not in any way guarantee the experience of abundance. On the other hand, We also know the counterexample. The grandmother living in a modest house whose home is always full of laughter, the smell of home-cooked food, and a palpable love. The artist who has few material possessions, but wakes up every morning with a burning passion to create. The person who, despite facing economic difficulties, possesses a wealth of friendships and a gratitude for life that is magnetic. If the person with all the money can feel deeply poor, and the person with little money can feel immensely rich, then we must conclude that our definition of wealth is, at best, incomplete and at worst a dangerous trap. What are we truly seeking when we long for abundance? Are we seeking the paper currency itself, or are we seeking the feelings we believe money will give us? Security, freedom, joy, peace. We pursue the external symbols, confusing the menu with the meal. This chapter is the foundation of our journey together, and its purpose is to demolish the old definition and build a new one in its place. The new definition is this: abundance is not what you have, it is how you experience what you have. It is not a quantity in your bank account, it is a quality of consciousness. It is an inner state of wholeness, gratitude, and expansion that you cultivate moment by moment regardless of your external circumstances. It is the feeling of having more than enough here and now. This is not a simple semantic redefinition. It is a paradigm shift that has the power to free you from the endless race and to reveal the richness you already possess. The 4 pillars of true abundance. To understand this new definition, we must expand our view of wealth beyond the single pillar of money. True abundance rests on several interconnected pillars, and the financial one is only one of them. Ignoring the others is like trying to build a stable house on a single column. The first pillar, and perhaps the most fundamental, is abundance of well-being. This is the wealth of your vitality, your health, and your energy. From a scarcity mindset, we see our body as a source of potential problems. We worry about illness, complain about our aches and pains, and feel a chronic fatigue that has become the norm. We see exercise as a punishment for what we ate, and healthy eating as a boring deprivation. In a state of well-being abundance, the perspective is completely inverted. You awaken to the consciousness of the miracle that your body is. You feel a deep gratitude for the simple fact that your heart beats, your lungs breathe, and your senses allow you to experience the world. You experience a sense of energy and vitality that propels you through the day. Food becomes an act of love, a delicious fuel that nourishes your cells. Movement becomes a joyful expression of life, a celebration of what your body can do. What good is all the money in the world if you don't have the health and energy to enjoy it? True wealth is waking up in the morning feeling good in your own skin, with the vitality needed to pursue your dreams and enjoy your pleasures. The second pillar is abundance of connection. This is the wealth of your relationships, of love, and of a sense of belonging. Scarcity in this area manifests as loneliness, even when we are surrounded by people. It manifests in superficial or transactional relationships, in the fear of rejection that prevents us from showing up authentically, and in a persistent feeling that no one truly understands or sees us. A person can have a large network of professional contacts and thousands of social media friends, yet still feel deeply poor in connection. Abundance of connection, on the other hand, is the warm, expansive feeling of having a tribe. It is the certainty that there is at least one person in the world you can call at 3 in the morning in a crisis. It is the richness of shared laughter, of vulnerability received with empathy, of unconditional support. It is the ability to give and receive love freely, without fear and without keeping score. Feeling rich in love, friendship, and community is one of the most powerful and nurturing forms of abundance. It is the treasure that sustains us when all other pillars falter. The third pillar is abundance of time. This is perhaps the most widespread form of poverty in our modern world. Scarcity of time is the chronic feeling of rushing, of always being behind, that the day doesn't have enough hours. It is the tyranny of a never-ending to-do list, and the feeling that life is a treadmill we can't get off. We live in a state of constant urgency, sacrificing the present for a future that never arrives. Abundance of time does not mean having nothing to do. It is not laziness or idleness. It is the feeling of sovereignty over your own time. It is the feeling of having space in your schedule to breathe, to be spontaneous, to do nothing. It is the freedom to be fully present in the activity you are doing, without your mind already being on the next 5 things. Abundance of time is an inner state of non-hurry. It is the understanding that you are the master of your time and not the other way around. You can have all the money in the world, but if you don't have time to enjoy it, to spend it with your loved ones, or simply to be at peace with yourself, you are poor in life's most valuable currency. The fourth pillar is abundance of growth and purpose. This is the wealth of a vibrant inner life. Scarcity here is the feeling of stagnation, of boredom, of living on autopilot. It is waking up in the morning with no clear sense of why, feeling that your days repeat without meaning. It is the feeling that your potential is dormant, unused. Abundance of growth and purpose, in contrast, is the feeling of being alive with a sense of direction. It is the joy of learning something new, of developing a new skill, of overcoming a personal challenge. It is feeling that your life, in some way, is contributing to something bigger than yourself, whether through your work, your family, or your community. It is the wealth of having a passion that ignites you, a curiosity that drives you, and a sense that you are constantly evolving, becoming a fuller version of yourself. This is the wealth that no economic crisis can touch. Once we understand these four pillars, we can place the financial pillar in its correct position. Financial abundance is not the ultimate goal of life. It is a powerful tool that can and should support the other pillars. Financial abundance, within this new definition, is having the resources sufficient and more than sufficient to live a life of full well-being, deep connections, time freedom, and purposeful growth, without the constant stress of economic survival. Money is a wonderful amplifier. It can buy you high-quality food, well-being, allow you to travel to see loved ones, connection, give you the freedom to work less, time, and fund your education or purpose-driven projects, growth. But it is the servant, not the master. The operative principle, be, do, have here is where we arrive at the most important operative principle of this entire book, the true key to abundance. The scarcity logic tells us, when I have more money, then I will feel secure and abundant. When I find the perfect partner, then I will feel loved and whole. When I retire, then I will have time and be free. This is the have to do to be formula. It is a formula that condemns us to perpetual waiting, because external having rarely satisfies the internal void in a lasting way. The principle of abundance radically inverts this formula. It declares, first I must be abundant to then do from that state, and as a result have the external manifestation. You must cultivate the feeling of abundance now, before the external evidence appears. You must start feeling rich in your body, in your relationships, in the small pockets of time you already have. You must start feeling gratitude for the fullness that already exists in your life. Imagine your state of consciousness is like a radio receiver. The universe is broadcasting on all frequencies simultaneously. The frequency of scarcity, the frequency of sickness, the frequency of loneliness, but also the frequency of abundance, health, and love. You cannot tune your radio to 98.5 FM, the LAC radio station, and expect to hear the music from 102.7 FM, the Abundance Symphony. It is a physical impossibility. If you want to experience abundance in your external world, you must first change your inner dial. You must begin to vibrate, to feel, to think, and to speak from the frequency of abundance. Your job is not to chase abundance, but to embody it. The River Practice. Inventory of current riches. Redefining wealth is an intellectual act. Feeling it is an act of consciousness. To begin tuning into the frequency of abundance that you already possess, I invite you to a first and fundamental practice, an inventory of your current riches. I ask you to take a sheet of paper or a notebook and divide it into 4 sections, one for each of the pillars of true abundance we have explored: well-being, connection, time, and growth. Your task in the next few minutes is not to dream about what you don't have. Your task is to become an archaeologist of the wealth that already dwells in your life. Below each heading, you're going to write at least 5 examples of abundance that already exist for you in that area, however small or mundane they may seem. Under well-being, don't think about perfect health. Think about what you do have. Perhaps it's the capacity of my lungs to take a deep breath, the pleasure of tasting sweet fruit, the strength in my legs to walk across the room, the rest from a night's sleep, the simple absence of pain right now. Under connection, don't think about storybook romance. Think about the threads of affection in your life. Perhaps it's the memory of a laugh shared with a friend, A good morning, text from a family member. One person in my life I know I could call if I had a problem. The kindness of a stranger who smiled at me today. The unconditional love of a pet. Under time, don't think about a month-long vacation. Think about the pockets of sovereignty you already possess. Perhaps it's 10 minutes this morning to enjoy my coffee in silence. The freedom to choose what movie to watch tonight. 1 hour this weekend that has nothing scheduled. The present moment, this very instant which is all mine. The time I save thanks to technology. And under growth, don't think about a major university degree. Think about how you are evolving every day. Perhaps it's a lesson I learned from a mistake I made last week. The curiosity I feel about a new topic I heard about. A book I am reading that is expanding my mind. The courage I had to have a difficult conversation. The simple awareness that I am listening to this audiobook to grow. Once you have completed your list, take a moment. Read each point slowly, and as you read it, don't just think about it. Try to feel it. Feel the gratitude for that small fragment of wealth. Allow the cumulative feeling of all these points to fill your body. This sensation, this warmth, this expansion, that is the frequency of abundance. It is not something you need to seek outside. It is already here. You already are it. Abundance is not a destination to reach. It is a reality you already inhabit. Your job and the journey we will undertake in this audiobook is simply to open your eyes and recognize it. Chapter 2. The Mirage of Scarcity. Dismantling the lack mindset. At the heart of our struggle, at the root of our incessant race for more, lies not a reality of lack, but a perception of lack. It is not the world that is intrinsically scarce. It is our mind that has been masterfully trained to see it that way. Before we can consciously cultivate the garden of abundance, we must first root out the persistent and deeply embedded weed of the scarcity mindset. This is not a simple bad thinking habit. It is the default operating system that most of us have been running on our entire lives. It is the invisible software running in the background, coloring every decision, every emotion, and every interaction. This operating system is not your fault. You didn't consciously choose it. You inherited it. It is software that has been passed down to us through 3 main channels: evolution, childhood, and culture. Understanding its origins is not about seeking excuses, but about finding the compassion and clarity necessary to be able to uninstall it. The 3 channels of transmission first. Let's travel back in time, far back. For 99% of human history, survival was a precarious proposition. Our ancestors lived in a world where food wasn't guaranteed, predators lurked, and a harsh winter could mean the end. In this environment, the human brain developed an incredibly effective survival mechanism, the negativity bias. A brain that was constantly alert to threats, that focused obsessively on what could go wrong, and that remembered every negative experience with vivid clarity, was a brain more likely to survive. The hominid who assumed every shadow was a saber-toothed tiger, even if wrong 9 out of 10 times, survived. The one who assumed everything was fine and was wrong just once did not. We have inherited this brain. Our hardware is designed for scarcity. It is wired to scan the horizon for danger, to focus on what is missing, food, security, and to give disproportionate weight to negative experiences. This ancient survival software, so useful on the savannah, has become a source of chronic anxiety in our modern world, where threats are rarely fatal, but our brain still reacts as if they were. The scarcity mindset, at its most fundamental level, is the echo of this ancient survival imperative. The second channel of transmission is our childhood. We are born in a state of pure abundance. A baby does not worry about whether there will be enough love or enough milk. They simply demand it and receive it as their birthright. But as we grow, we begin to absorb our family's blueprints of reality. Our parents, with the best of intentions and operating from their own scarcity programming, transmitted their worldview to us. We heard phrases like, "Money doesn't grow on trees." A lesson about the value of work that unintentionally also plants the seed of the belief that money is a scarce, hard-to-get resource. Finish everything on your plate. There are starving children in the world. a lesson about not wasting that can also instill a subtle sense of guilt and the idea that there is never enough. Better the devil you know than the devil you don't. A prudent piece of advice that also teaches us to fear risk and settle for less than we deserve. Each of these phrases and hundreds of others were small trickles that over time eroded our innate perception of abundance. They were not malicious. They were the survival strategies our parents learned from their parents. But they became the source code of our operating system, programming us to see the world as a place of limited resources, potential dangers, and where prudence often means choosing the smallest, safest option. Finally, this inherited software is reinforced and amplified daily by the third channel, our culture. We are immersed in a consumer culture whose main engine is the manufacturing of scarcity. The fundamental message of almost all advertising is, you are not enough. You lack something. Your life is incomplete. But if you buy this product, if you achieve this status, if you look like this image, then, and only then, will you be whole. This narrative keeps us in a state of perpetual longing. As soon as we acquire one thing, the culture presents us with the next, ensuring that the feeling of sufficiency is always in the future. Social media has taken this mechanism to an exponential level. The constant parade of others' carefully curated and edited lives becomes a mirror in which we only see our own lacks. Comparison becomes the thief not only of joy, but of our very sense of abundance. We see someone else's vacation and feel our free time is scarce. We see someone else's professional success and feel our opportunities are scarce. We see someone else's seemingly perfect relationship and feel that love in our life is scarce. This is the Mirage of Scarcity, an operating system inherited from evolution, installed in childhood and updated daily by culture. But a mirage, however real it may seem, is still an illusion. And the first step to dispelling any illusion is to understand how it works. Into the mechanics of the mirage. The scarcity mindset operates through several key mechanisms. The first and most pervasive is the zero-sum game. The scarcity mindset views the world as a fixed-size pie. If someone takes a bigger slice, there is inevitably less left for me. Someone else's success is perceived at a subconscious level as a threat to my own. This belief is the root of envy, jealousy, and unhealthy competition. When a colleague gets a promotion, instead of feeling genuine joy for them, a part of us feels a pang of resentment because we believe there is now one less success slot available for us. We celebrate our victories in silence and often subtly rejoice in the failures of others. This framework isolates us, prevents us from collaborating authentically, and robs us of the richness of shared celebration. It makes us forget that the universe is not a pie, but an infinite ocean of potential, and that the high tide of one person's success can in fact lift all boats. The second mechanism is the relentless focus on what's missing. The scarcity mind is like a camera lens that is permanently focused on the gap, the empty space. You can have 99 blessings in your life, but this mind will obsess over the single thing you don't have. It is the mindset that allows you to receive a raise, and instead of celebrating it, immediately feel anxious because it wasn't as big as your co-workers. It is the one that allows you to have a loving relationship and still focus on your partner's small flaws. This focus on the gap makes the experience of gratitude almost impossible. We cannot appreciate what we have if our attention is constantly fixed on what we lack. It condemns us to live in a state of perpetual dissatisfaction, always chasing the next object, the next achievement, believing that will finally fill the void, without realizing that the void is not an external condition, but an internal habit of perception. The third mechanism is the fear of loss. Scarcity manifests not only in the belief that there is not enough to be acquired, but in the terror of losing the little that one has. This fear leads us to hoarding behaviors. We accumulate money in savings accounts for fear of an uncertain future, but are often too scared to invest it in experiences that would bring us joy or opportunities that could grow it. We accumulate possessions we don't use, cluttering our homes because the idea of letting go of something causes us anxiety, and more subtly we hoard our emotions. We are afraid to give love too freely in case it is unrequited. We are afraid to be too generous with our time or resources in case we are taken advantage of. The fear of loss makes us live with a closed fist. And a closed fist, as we have already seen, can grasp tightly, but it cannot receive anything. Finally, the scarcity mindset traps us in short-term thinking. When you feel you don't have enough, not enough time, not enough money, not enough energy, you enter a constant crisis management mode. Your focus becomes narrow and reactive. You can only think about how to survive the next week, the next day, the next hour. This state of mental survival makes it incredibly difficult to invest in the future. How can you think about saving for retirement if you are worried about how to pay this month's rent? How can you invest time in learning a new skill if you feel you barely have the energy to finish your workday? Scarcity creates a negative feedback loop. The feeling of not having enough prevents us from taking the long-term actions that would create more than enough. It keeps us trapped on the treadmill, putting out fires, without the ability to look up and see the broader landscape of our possibilities. The cost of living under the dominion of this mirage is immense. It is the buzzing anxiety that has become the soundtrack to our lives. It is the opportunities we have missed out on for fear of risk. It is the relationships that have withered due to competition and envy. And it is, above all, the deep, serene joy we have denied ourselves by being unable to appreciate the wealth that already surrounds us. The river. Practice rebel against scarcity. Dismantling this. Mirage is the most liberating work you can undertake. It is not about ignoring real economic challenges or adopting naive optimism. It is a conscious change of perception. It is about withdrawing your energy from the belief in lack and starting to invest it in the belief in sufficiency. To begin this process, I invite you to a fundamental practice, a first act of conscious rebellion against the tyranny of scarcity. This practice consists of 3 steps: observe, question, and reseed. Observation without judgment. The first step is observation without judgment. For the next few days, your task is to become a scarcity detective. You are going to listen to your internal dialogue and your external conversations with a new attention, specifically searching for the thoughts and phrases born of lack. Do not judge them. Do not be ashamed of them. Simply notice them. When you compare yourself to someone on social media, notice the thought, that is a scarcity thought. When you feel envy for a friend's success, notice that's the zero-sum game in action. When you worry about money, even though all your needs are covered, notice that's the voice of the fear of loss. Initially, this act of noticing is all you need to do. Awareness is the sunlight that begins to dispel the fog of the mirage. Curious questioning. The second step is curious questioning. Once you become more skilled at detecting these thoughts, you can start to challenge them gently. When a scarcity thought arises, such as, "I'll never have enough money to do what I want," instead of accepting it as an absolute truth, ask it a kind, skeptical question. Is this belief 100% true without any doubt? Has there ever been a time in my life, even a single moment, when I did have enough to do something I wanted? Can I be absolutely sure I know what the future holds for me? How do I feel when I blindly believe in this thought? And who would I be, or what would I do if I didn't have this thought? These questions, inspired by the work of Byron Katie, do not seek a correct answer. Their purpose is to introduce a small crack in the armor of the belief, to create a space of doubt where there was once absolute certainty. Deliberate reseeding. The abundance log. The third and most proactive step is deliberate reseeding. The old scarcity software stays alive because we constantly feed it with confirming evidence. To install new abundance software, we must start actively and consciously feeding our mind with evidence that contradicts it. I invite you to start an abundance evidence log. This can be a section in your journal or a note on your phone. Every day, your task is to record at least 3 pieces of evidence that you live in an abundant universe, and that sufficiency is your natural state. This evidence does not have to be grand. In fact, it is more powerful when it is small and mundane because it trains you to see abundance everywhere. Your evidence could be, today, a friend texted me out of the blue just to check in. Evidence of abundance of connection. I had 10 minutes to sit in silence and enjoy my coffee this morning. Evidence of abundance of time. My body digested my food and converted it into energy without me having to do anything. Evidence of abundance of well-being. I found a coin on the street. Evidence of unexpected financial abundance. I learned something new by reading an article. Evidence of abundance of growth. At first, you might find it difficult to find this evidence because your brain is not trained to look for it. But the more you do it, the easier it will become. You are creating a new neural pathway. You are training your RAS to search for proof of abundance. And as your log grows, it will become a powerful antidote to the voice of scarcity. When the old thought of there's never enough arises, you can open your log and confront it with a mountain of evidence to the contrary. This is the beginning of the great unlearning. It is the act of looking the mirage directly in the eye and recognizing it for what it is, a collection of old stories, of ancient echoes. It is not your truth. The truth is that you live in a universe of incomprehensible generosity. The key is not to get more, but to learn to see more. And that journey begins now, with the simple decision to seek the evidence of the wealth that already surrounds you. Chapter 3. The Magnet of Gratitude, the Language of the Abundant Universe. If the scarcity mindset is a mirage that keeps us thirsty in an imaginary desert, gratitude is the act of kneeling down and drinking from the river that has always flowed at our feet. We have heard the word gratitude so often in self-help and spirituality contexts that it risks becoming a cliché, an empty platitude we nod to without truly understanding its potency. We tend to think of it as a social formality, the thank you we say after receiving a gift, or as a simple positive thinking exercise to cheer ourselves up when we are sad. But today I invite you to discard these superficial notions. We are going to explore gratitude, not as a passive emotion, but as the most powerful consciousness technology we possess. Gratitude is not a mere feeling, it is an active force. It is the most potent magnet in the universe. To understand how this magnet works, we must grasp a fundamental principle of the universe, the law of resonance. Like attracts like. Everything in existence, including you, is energy vibrating at a particular frequency. Your thoughts, your emotions, and your dominant beliefs determine your personal frequency. When you operate from the scarcity mindset, you are emitting a frequency of lack, of not enough. And the universe, which is an impartial and obedient mirror, reflects back to you more situations that resonate with that same frequency of lack. Gratitude is the conscious act of changing the station. It is the act of deliberately generating the frequency of I already having, of sufficiency, of wholeness. When you feel genuine gratitude for the money you have in your wallet, however little it may be, you are not emitting the frequency of I only have this. You are emitting the frequency of I have money, and I am grateful for it. When you feel gratitude for a friend's love, you are emitting the frequency of I am loved. The universe does not respond to your empty words. It responds to the vibration of your feelings. Gratitude is the language the universe of abundance understands. It is how you tell it, I am ready to receive more of this, because I already appreciate what I have. It is the act of tuning your internal radio to the symphony of abundance. The science of the magnet, this principle, which may sound metaphysical, has a very solid foundation in the neurology and psychology of our own mind. Gratitude is the most effective tool that exists for reprogramming the scarcity operating system. As we saw, our brain is equipped with a filter, the reticular activating system, RAS, which shows us in the world what we are focused on. The scarcity mindset programs this filter to look for problems, dangers, and lack. Gratitude is the act of introducing a new programming code. When you practice gratitude deliberately, you are giving your brain a new mission. You are telling it, stop looking for what is wrong. Your new task is to scan my reality and present me with a report of everything that is right. Initially, your brain will struggle because it's not used to it, but with constant practice, it will become incredibly good at it. You will start noticing things that were previously invisible to you. The beauty of a crack in the sidewalk where a flower pushes through, the kindness in a cashier's eyes, the synchronicity of the exact song you needed to hear playing on the radio. The world hasn't changed, but you have installed new perceptual software. You have put on gratitude glasses, and through them the evidence of abundance is everywhere. This neurological change triggers an emotional transformation. Science has shown that the practice of gratitude releases a cocktail of well-being neurochemicals in the brain, primarily dopamine, associated with pleasure and motivation, and serotonin, associated with calm and happiness. It is literally a dose of natural antidepressant. This shift in your emotional state is crucial. When you feel good, when you operate from a state of appreciation and fullness, you make better decisions. You are more creative, more resilient to setbacks, more open to opportunities, and more magnetic to others. This creates an upward spiral. Gratitude makes you feel better. Feeling better, you act in more constructive ways. Acting in more constructive ways, you get better results. And getting better results, you have even more to be grateful for. You have activated a positive feedback loop that generates an unstoppable momentum toward a more abundant life. The 3 levels of gratitude. To build this gratitude muscle effectively, it is helpful to understand that there are different levels of practice, from beginner to master. The first level is transactional gratitude. This is the most basic and common form of gratitude. It is gratitude for the good things that happen to us. We are grateful when we get a promotion, when someone gives us a gift, when we recover from an illness, or when the day is sunny. This gratitude is wonderful and an essential starting point. However, its limitation is that it is reactive and conditional. It depends on external circumstances aligning with our preferences. If things do not go well, this type of gratitude disappears, leaving us at the mercy of our mood and the vicissitudes of life. The second level is proactive gratitude. This is where the real work begins. This is the practice of finding things to be grateful for, not only in the big positive events, but in the texture of the ordinary, in the mundane details we take for granted. It is gratitude not just for the party, but for the simple fact of having food on the plate. Not just for the exotic vacation, but for the comfort of your own bed. Not just for perfect health, but for the simple fact that your heart has beaten 100,000 times today without you having to ask it to. Proactive gratitude is an act of rebellion against the blindness of routine. It is consciously choosing to see the miracle in the mundane. It is feeling a surge of appreciation for the hot water that comes out of the tap, a luxury unthinkable for billions of people throughout history. It is marveling at the technology that allows you to listen to these words, or contact a loved one across the world in an instant. When you practice this level of gratitude, your entire life is transformed. You stop waiting for big things to happen to feel good, because you realize you are already swimming in an ocean of everyday miracles. This practice anchors you in a feeling of fundamental wealth that is independent of your achievements or possessions. It proves to you at a cellular level that you already have more than enough. The third and highest level is radical gratitude. This is the practice of the alchemist. It is the ability to find and feel genuine gratitude, not only for the good and the ordinary, but also for the difficult, the challenges, the failures, and the losses. This at first glance seems illogical and even masochistic. Why would I be grateful for something that causes me pain? Radical gratitude is not a denial of pain. The pain is real and must be honored, but this practice operates from a deep trust that the universe is ultimately benevolent, and that every experience, without exception, contains a seed of growth and a hidden gift. It is the ability to look back at a relationship that ended in heartbreak and feel gratitude not just for the good times, but also for the pain, because it taught you about your own boundaries, made you more compassionate, and opened the way to a new form of love. It is the ability to face a financial crisis and feel gratitude for the lesson in humility, for the creativity it forced you to develop, and for the discovery of what you truly value beyond money. It is the ability to be grateful for a harsh critic, because their judgment, though painful, showed you an area where you could improve or strengthened you in your own conviction. Radical gratitude is the act of asking in the face of any difficulty, what is the lesson here? How is this helping me grow? What strength am I forging in this fire? It is the ultimate expression of reframing. It transmutes the energy of the problem in the very act of giving thanks for it. When you can be grateful for a challenge, it loses power over you. It is no longer an obstacle blocking you. It becomes a step that elevates you. Practicing radical gratitude is the fastest way to transform victimhood into mastery. The river practice, the exponential gratitude, ritual gratitude, is not a concept to be admired. It is a muscle to be exercised, and like any muscle, it is strengthened by daily, consistent practice. To begin building this powerful magnet in your life, I invite you to a daily ritual, a practice that goes beyond a simple mental list. and is designed to amplify the frequency of gratitude exponentially. This practice consists of 3 parts: logging, amplification, and expression. The log, the foundation. The first part is the log, the foundation of your practice. Every day, ideally in the morning to set the tone for the day, or in the evening to reflect on it, take a notebook dedicated exclusively to this purpose, your gratitude journal, and write down 3 to 5 specific things you are grateful for. Specificity is key. Don't write, "I'm grateful for my family." That is too abstract. Write, "I'm grateful for the way my daughter told me about her day with such enthusiasm." Don't write, "I'm grateful for my job." Write, "I'm grateful for that moment of clarity I had today while solving a problem." The more specific you are, the more real the feeling becomes. This simple act of logging trains your brain to actively look for the positive throughout the day. Amplification, the visceral experience. This is where we turn the exercise from a list into a visceral experience. From the points you have written, choose one. Just one. Now close your eyes. Instead of just thinking about it, you are going to relive it with all your senses. If you are grateful for your morning cup of coffee, don't limit yourself to the idea. Go back to that moment. Feel the warmth of the mug in your hands. Smell the deep, rich aroma of the coffee. Feel the first warm sip in your mouth. Feel the sensation of calm and comfort that this small ritual provided you. As you relive the sensory experience, ask yourself this question: why am I truly grateful for this? The first answer may be simple: because it tastes good. Ask again, and why is that important? Because it gave me a moment of peace before the chaos of the day began. Ask again, and why is it important to have that moment of peace? Because it helped me start the day feeling centered and more resourceful. You have gone from a cup of coffee to the feeling of being centered and resourceful. Now amplify that feeling. Allow the sensation of gratitude for that moment of peace to fill your entire body. Feel it as a warmth in your chest, as a smile that spreads across your face. Maintain that feeling for 30 to 60 seconds. This amplification process turns a simple idea of gratitude into a powerful vibratory emission. You are charging your energetic field with the frequency of fullness, expression, completing the cycle. The third and final part is expression. Gratitude grows exponentially when it is shared. The energy you have cultivated within you now needs to flow outward to complete the cycle of abundance. Your final practice is this. In the next 24 hours, choose one person in your life and express specific, genuine gratitude to them. It doesn't have to be anything grand. It can be a text message to a friend. "Hey, I was just thinking about that time you helped me with something specific and wanted you to know how much I appreciated it. Thanks for being there." It can be telling your partner, "I want you to know I really appreciate you taking care of a specific chore today. It took a load off my mind." This act of expression does several things. First, it deepens your own feeling of gratitude. Second, it creates a wave of positive energy in the other person, strengthening the bridge of connection. And third, it positions you as a source of appreciation, which, by the law of resonance, attracts more appreciative people and experiences into your life. You are creating ripples of gratitude that expand outward and, inevitably, return to you multiplied. This ritual log, amplification and expression, practiced daily, is the fundamental training of the abundance alchemist. It is the process by which you cease to be a victim of circumstances and become a conscious magnet for all good things. Do not underestimate the power of this practice. It is simple, but it is not easy. It requires consistency. But every time you perform it, you are sending the clearest possible signal to the universe. You are telling it in its own language, "Thank you. I am ready. I am open. Send me more." Chapter 4. The Always Full Cup. The Power of Feeling Worthy and Deserving. In the previous chapter, we explored gratitude as the magnet that tunes our energy to the frequency of abundance. You may have started practicing it, keeping your journal, noticing the small miracles in your life, and yet perhaps a subtle feeling of frustration persists. Maybe you see opportunities seem to approach, only to be diverted at the last moment. Or perhaps, when something good finally arrives in your life, a compliment, an opportunity, a gift, you feel a strange discomfort, an almost irresistible urge to reject it, minimize it, or sabotage it. If this sounds familiar, it is because we have reached the deepest, often invisible layer of scarcity consciousness, the feeling of unworthiness, of not deserving. Imagine that your capacity to experience abundance is like a great and beautiful vessel. The universe, in its infinite generosity, is constantly pouring a rain of blessings upon you. Opportunities, love, money, joy. But if your vessel, your self-concept, is full of holes of self-criticism, guilt, and the fundamental belief that you are not enough, then it doesn't matter how much abundance rains down on you. It will leak out, it will escape, and you will be left with the feeling of perpetual emptiness, wondering why the law of attraction isn't working for you. The truth is, your level of external abundance can never sustainably exceed your level of internal deservingness. You cannot hold on to what in your subconscious you do not believe you deserve. Therefore, this chapter is perhaps the most important of our journey. It is the work of repairing the vessel. It is the process of healing the cracks of unworthiness and reclaiming our innate wholeness. We have been taught to view our worth as a glass that is half empty or half full, a quantity that fluctuates according to our achievements or failures. Today, we're going to discard that metaphor entirely and replace it with a new truth. Your cup of worth is not half full or half empty. Your cup has always been and always will be completely full. It is made of the very substance of wholeness. Your job is not to fill it, but to stop believing in the cracks you've been told it has. Healing the cracks of unworthiness. To heal these cracks, we must first understand with deep compassion how they formed. No one is born feeling unworthy. A newborn does not question whether they deserve love or nourishment. They demand it with the absolute certainty that it is their birthright. Our natural state is one of total deservingness. But then, life begins to teach us a different lesson. The first chisel that pierces our vessel is that of conditional love. In our childhood, many of us learned that love and approval were not a constant state, but a reward for certain behavior. Mommy is happy when you get good grades. Good boys don't cry. If you don't behave, no one will love you. With the best of intentions, our parents and caregivers taught us a devastating equation. My performance determines my value. We learned that to be worthy of love, we had to achieve, to please, to be perfect, to repress our negative emotions. The underlying message was clear. You, as you are in your natural state with your needs and imperfections, are not enough. You must do something, be someone different, to earn the right to be loved. This belief becomes the foundation of our adult life. We become achievement addicts and perfectionists, always chasing the next goal with the hope that this time we will finally feel worthy. Or we become chronic pleasers, sacrificing our own needs in a desperate attempt to buy the approval of others. This initial conditioning is then reinforced by our culture. We are taught a form of humility that often turns into self-deprecation. We are warned against selfishness, a label often applied to any act of prioritizing our own needs or acknowledging our own value. Religious or spiritual narratives can be misinterpreted, leading us to believe we are inherently sinful or flawed, that we must purify ourselves or transcend our humanity to be worthy of grace. Society bombards us with impossible ideals of beauty, success, and happiness, ensuring that we always feel a little below standard, always needing to improve to finally be deserving. Finally, we solidify this belief of unworthiness through the interpretation of our own experiences. A failed business is not seen as a learning experience, but is internalized as a verdict. I am not worthy of success. A relationship that ends is not seen as a lack of compatibility, but as proof I am not worthy of being loved. Every mistake, every rejection, every failure becomes another piece of evidence that our inner critic uses to build the case against our own worth. The upper limit problem, the result of all this programming, is that we develop what author Gay Hendricks calls an upper limit problem. Each of us has an internal thermostat that dictates the level of abundance, success, and happiness that we unconsciously believe we deserve. When life begins to go too well, when our finances, relationships, or career exceed that set point, the thermostat triggers. It feels uncomfortable, unfamiliar, unsafe, and then, unconsciously, we will do something to sabotage ourselves and return to our familiar level of misery or mediocrity. We will start a senseless fight with our partner right after a week of incredible intimacy. We will forget an important deadline right after receiving high praise at work. We will develop a mysterious headache or illness right before a much-anticipated vacation. This is not an act of stupidity. It is an act of loyalty to our deepest belief about what we deserve. Our subconscious is simply trying to keep us safe in the familiar territory of scarcity. Recognizing the symptoms of a low deservingness set point is the first step to recalibrating it. The most obvious symptom is a chronic difficulty receiving. Pay attention to how you react to generosity and appreciation. When someone gives you a genuine compliment, what is your automatic response? Do you minimize it? Oh, it's nothing. Do you deflect it? You did great too. Or do you simply reject it? No, not at all, I look awful. The inability to simply look the other person in the eye, smile, and say thank you is a clear sign that a part of you does not feel worthy of that positive energy. Also, observe your reaction to gifts or acts of service. Do you feel an immediate need to return the favor, to balance the scales? Do you feel uncomfortable or even guilty when you spend money on something that is purely for your own pleasure, without a practical justification? This discomfort with receiving is the direct manifestation of a vessel that believes it doesn't deserve to be full. Another clear symptom is self-sabotage, as we have mentioned. It is the tendency to be about to reach a goal, and at the last moment do something to mess it up. It is procrastinating on tasks you know would take you to the next level. It is consistently choosing romantic partners who are unavailable or who treat you poorly, because their behavior confirms your underlying belief that you are not worthy of healthy love. Self-sabotage is the guardian of your comfort zone, and the comfort zone of a person with low self-esteem is scarcity. Excessive giving and pleasing are also masks of unworthiness. It is the belief that our value resides in our usefulness to others. We become everyone's problem solver, the friend who is always available, the employee who stays late, not always from a place of genuine generosity, but from a desperate need to earn our place in the world. The inability to say no without feeling crushing guilt is a classic symptom. It stems from the terrifying belief that if we stop being useful, people will stop loving us because we are not intrinsically valuable for simply existing. The river practice. Repairing the vessel, recognizing these patterns, is the first step to healing them. We are not doomed to live with a leaky vessel. We can repair it. We can reclaim our innate wholeness. The process of recalibrating your deservingness set point is an act of radical self-love, and it begins with the acceptance of a fundamental truth. Your worth is not, and has never been, negotiable. It is not something you earn or lose. It is not based on your achievements, your looks, your bank account, or the opinions of others. It is inherent. It is your birthright. It is the I am truth that exists before you add any label to it. You are worthy because you exist. End of story. Your conscious mind may struggle to accept this truth because it goes against a lifetime of programming. Therefore, we will not try to convince the mind with logic. We will retrain the subconscious through experience. We will teach our nervous system at a cellular level how it feels to be worthy. The most direct practice to start sealing the cracks in your vessel is the art of receiving. For the next week, I invite you to a conscious training, the compliment receiver. Your sole task is this. The next time someone pays you a compliment, however small, you are going to resist with all your might the automatic impulse to minimize it, deflect it, or deny it. You are going to pause. You are going to take a breath. You are going to look the person in the eye. And you are going to say two simple words, thank you, and that's all. No justifications, no reciprocations. Simply receive the positive energy. At first, it will feel incredibly awkward, as if you are being arrogant, but with every thank you you utter, you are rewiring your nervous system. You are teaching it that it is okay, that it is safe, to accept goodness and appreciation. The gift of unearned pleasure. Every day for the next week, you are intentionally going to give yourself a small, simple pleasure that has absolutely no practical justification and is not a reward for anything. It is not I earned it because I worked hard. It is I give this to myself because I exist. It might be buying yourself that flower you saw at the shop. It might be sitting on a bench for 10 minutes in the middle of your workday to do nothing but feel the sun. It might be taking a long bath instead of a quick shower. It might be listening to your favorite song at full volume. The action itself is less important than the intention behind it. The act of treating yourself as someone who is intrinsically worthy of joy and pleasure. without needing to earn it. These small practices begin to repair the vessel from the outside. But to truly seal it from within, I now invite you to a deep visualization, a meditation to reclaim the truth of your always full cup. The always full cup visualization. Find your space of stillness. Sit comfortably, close your eyes and bring your attention to your breath. With each inhalation, imagine you are breathing in a sense of peace. With each exhalation, imagine you are releasing the old stories of I am not enough. Now bring your attention to the center of your chest, your heart space, and visualize that in that space resides a cup or a chalice. This is the vessel of your deservingness. Take a moment to observe it. What does it look like? Be honest with yourself without judgment. Perhaps it looks small, or it is made of an opaque material. Perhaps you see cracks on its surface, or even holes through which light escapes. Perhaps it appears half empty or almost completely empty. Simply observe your current perception. Now lift your inner gaze upwards above your head. Imagine an infinite source of light, a radiant sun of a warm, brilliant gold energy. This is not ordinary light. It is the light of unconditional love, total acceptance, the source of all creation. It is the energy of your own higher self, of life itself. It is the truth of your inherent worth. Visualize how a beam of this golden light begins to descend from that infinite source, entering the crown of your head and flowing directly down to the chalice in your heart. Watch as the light begins to fill your cup. As it fills it, something magical happens. Wherever the light touches a crack, it is instantly sealed, leaving a seam of pure gold like in the Japanese art of kintsugi. Where there is a hole, the light fills it and makes it whole. Watch as the level of the golden light rises in your cup, filling it completely until it overflows, spilling this energy of deservingness across your chest, your abdomen, your arms, and your legs, until every cell of your body vibrates with this golden light. And now, stay with this image and prepare for the final revelation. Look at your chalice again, now overflowing with light, and realize a deeper truth. The chalice is not merely filled with light. The chalice itself is made of that same solidified golden light. It is not a separate container holding something. It is a manifestation of the very substance that fills it. The walls of the cup are the light. The contents of the cup are the light. There is no separation. Understand what this means. Your worth is not a fluctuating quantity that can diminish or increase. Your cup cannot be empty because it is made of fullness. Your worth is not something you earn or lose. It is the very substance you're made of. Your cup has always been and always will be completely full. Your only job has been to realize it. Remain in this sensation, in this truth for a few moments. Feel the solidity, the integrity, the wholeness of your being. To anchor this new reality, repeat these words in silence, in the sanctuary of your heart. My worth is not something I earn. It is the essence of what I am. My cup is always full. Feel the truth of these words resonating in the golden structure of your being. When you are ready, take a deep breath, and as you exhale, slowly open your eyes. You have repaired the vessel. You have reclaimed your birthright. You are now ready to receive. Chapter 5. The river flowing in two directions. The art of giving and receiving. At the heart of the universe of abundance beats a rhythmic pulse, a principle as fundamental to prosperity as inhalation and exhalation are to life. It is the incessant flow of giving and receiving. We often think of these two actions as opposites. One is an outflow, the other an inflow. But this is an illusion of the separating mind. In reality, giving and receiving are not two distinct acts, but the two inseparable phases of a single, powerful current. They are the systole and diastole of the heart of the universe. You cannot have one without the other. A river that only receives water from its source, but has no outlet to the sea, stagnates and turns into a foul swamp. A river that only gives its water but is not replenished by its source dries up and disappears. The health, vitality, and abundance of any system, including that of your own life, depend entirely on the freedom and balance of this bidirectional flow. However, our scarcity programming has profoundly distorted our relationship with both halves of this sacred cycle. We have turned the natural art of giving and receiving into a source of anxiety, guilt, obligation, and fear. We have put dams and dikes on our inner river, and then we wonder why our life feels stagnant or dry. This chapter is an invitation to demolish those dams. It is a guide to unlearning the toxic rules of lack and remembering the joyous, effortless law of flow. The distortions of scarcity. Let's begin by examining how the scarcity mindset has taught us to give. For the scarcity mind, giving is rarely a pure act. It is often contaminated by hidden agendas and underlying fears. The first distortion is transactional giving. In this model, every act of giving is an investment with an expectation of a specific, measurable return. We give a friend a gift, and at a subconscious level, we keep a ledger, expecting a gift of similar value on our birthday. We do a colleague a favor and feel resentment if they don't return it when we need them to. This kind of giving is not generosity. It is barter in disguise. It turns our relationships into an accounting book, where we are constantly auditing who owes what to whom. This approach drains the joy from the act of giving and creates a web of obligations that suffocates authentic connection. The second distortion, and perhaps the most common, is giving from sacrifice or the martyr syndrome. It is born from the belief that our worth lies in our capacity for self-sacrifice. We were taught that being a good person meant always putting others' needs ahead of our own. So we give our time when we don't have it. We give our energy when we are already exhausted. We say yes when every fiber of our being screams no. This kind of giving does not come from a place of fullness, but from a deep void. We give from our checking account, not from our surplus. And the inevitable result is resentment. We smile and say, "Don't worry about it." But inside, a bitter voice whispers, "No one appreciates all I do. I'm exhausted and no one cares." This resentment is a sign that we have violated our own boundaries. Giving from sacrifice is not an act of love. It is an act of self-betrayal that, in the long run, poisons both the giver and the receiver. Finally, scarcity can turn giving into an act of manipulation and control. We give to create a sense of debt in others. We offer help or extravagant gifts not out of generosity, but to secure a place of power or influence in someone's life. It is the parent who uses economic gifts to control the decisions of their adult children. It is the friend who constantly helps to maintain the other in a position of dependence. This type of giving is the most toxic of all because it uses the mask of generosity to conceal a thirst for power. Now let's look at the other side of the river, our capacity to receive. For the scarcity mind, receiving is often even more uncomfortable than giving. As we explored in the previous chapter, at the root of this discomfort lies the belief of unworthiness. When someone offers us a gift, a compliment, or an act of service, the voice of unworthiness immediately whispers, "I don't deserve this. I haven't done anything to earn it." This sensation leads us to reject, minimize or deflect the abundance that is trying to reach us, keeping our vessel perpetually below capacity. Even when we overcome the barrier of unworthiness, scarcity presents us with another trap, receiving as a debt. The moment we accept a gift, the transactional mind immediately activates. How much did it cost? What will I have to give them in return now? How can I repay the favor as quickly as possible? The joy of the gift is instantly overshadowed by the stress of the obligation. We have not received a gift. We have acquired a debt. This prevents us from experiencing the simple gratitude and pleasure of being cared for or appreciated. Instead of feeling expanded by generosity, we feel contracted by the weight of a new obligation. Finally, the scarcity mindset makes us suspicious of generosity. When someone offers us something too good to be true, our first reaction is often mistrust. What do they want in return? What's the catch? Having operated ourselves from a place of transactional or manipulative giving, we project those same motivations onto others. We become incapable of accepting the possibility of pure generosity. This suspicion builds an invisible wall around us, a force field that repels the help, opportunities, and unexpected gifts the universe constantly tries to send our way. The abundance model, flow and circulation, we have painted a bleak picture of dams, debts, and suspicion. Now let's demolish it. The abundance model for giving and receiving is radically different. It is not based on accounting, sacrifice, or fear. It is based on the river model, a natural, joyous, and self-sustaining flow. The fundamental principle of giving from abundance is this: you can only truly give from your surplus. You cannot pour water from an empty jug. The first act of true generosity, therefore, is paradoxically an act of sacred selfishness. Fill your own jug first. This means taking care of your own energy, honoring your own needs, filling your own life with joy and well-being. When you operate from a place of fullness, When your own cup is overflowing with vitality, love, and gratitude, the act of giving ceases to be a sacrifice and becomes a natural overflow. It is the inevitable consequence of your own abundance. The sun does not sacrifice to give light and heat. It simply radiates the energy that is its nature. A fig tree laden with fruit does not sacrifice by offering them. It is the expression of its own vitality. When you give from your surplus, the act of giving energizes you instead of draining you. The second principle of abundant giving is the release of expectation. When you give from fullness, you give for the pure joy of giving. There is no hidden agenda. There is no ledger. You cast your gift into the river of life and trust that the current will carry it where it is needed. And here is the key. You trust that the universe, in its perfect circular economy, will return the energy to you, but not necessarily through the same person or in the same form. This is what distinguishes transactional giving from circulatory giving. In the transaction, you expect person A to return the favor. In circulation, you give to person A, who in turn feels inspired to give to person B, who then helps person C, who one day, unexpectedly, offers you exactly the help you need. By giving without strings attached, you are not making a transaction. You are contributing to the flow of universal generosity, and that current always finds its way back home. On the other hand, receiving from abundance is an equally active and conscious practice. It begins with the understanding that receiving with grace is an act of generosity. When someone offers you a gift and you reject or minimize it, you are not being humble. You are robbing that person of the pleasure and joy of their own act of giving. You are blocking the flow. When instead you receive a compliment, a gift, or an act of help, with a simple open thank you, I receive and appreciate it. You are giving the other person the gift of experiencing their own generosity. You are completing the circuit. You are honoring their overflow. The art of receiving is a gift you give to the giver. The second principle of abundant receiving is receiving without the burden of immediate debt. It is accepting a gift with the confidence that you are intrinsically deserving, as we explored in the previous chapter. And it is trusting the circulatory nature of life. You don't have to repay the favor to that specific person. Your responsibility is simply to keep the energy moving. Today you receive. Tomorrow from your fullness you will give to another person in another way. You receive from the current and you give back to the current. This understanding frees you from the anxiety of obligation and allows you to experience the pure gratitude of the moment. The river practice. Opening the floodgates. To consciously begin embodying this flow of giving and receiving, I invite you to a two-part practice, an exercise to open the floodgates of your own river. The conscious overflow practice, giving. This is your giving practice. But before you can give, you must fill yourself. I ask that for the next week, you begin each day with a 5-minute filling ritual. This is non-negotiable. During these 5 minutes, your only task is to do something that genuinely nourishes your spirit. It could be listening to an uplifting song, reading a few pages of an inspiring book, meditating on the feeling of gratitude, dancing in your living room, or simply sitting in silence with a cup of tea. The activity matters less than the intention. You are consciously filling your own jug before trying to serve others. Once you feel a little fuller, your task for the day is to perform one small, and if possible, anonymous act of giving from surplus. The key is that it must feel joyful and effortless. It could be leaving a coin in a vending machine for the next person. It could be writing a positive online review for a small business you like. It could be sending an email to an author or artist whose work inspired you just to thank them. It could be picking up a piece of trash that isn't yours. Choose something small, and as you do it, focus on the feeling of overflow, the joy of sharing your fullness. And then, most importantly, let it go. Expect nothing in return. You have made your contribution to the river. Trust the flow. The open receptivity practice, receiving. This is your receiving practice. During the same week, you are going to become a walking yes to the abundance that tries to reach you. Your mantra will be, I receive with gratitude. When someone pays you a compliment, breathe, smile, and say, thank you. I receive that. Feel the energy of those words entering you. When someone offers you help, whether it's carrying a bag or with a project, resist the urge to say, no, don't worry. I can manage. Instead, say, thank you. I really appreciate that. Allow others to give to you. If you find money on the street, even if it's a penny, pick it up with a sense of delight and say silently, "Thank you. I am open to abundance in all its forms." If a friend wants to treat you to coffee, accept it joyfully without feeling the immediate need to pay next time. This practice may feel radically uncomfortable at first, but with every act of conscious reception, you are sending a powerful message to your subconscious. You are telling it, "I am worthy. I deserve to receive. It is safe for me to be full." You are sealing the cracks of your vessel with the direct experience of wholeness. Make no mistake, the art of giving and receiving is one of the most advanced spiritual practices that exists. It requires us to dismantle a lifetime of conditioning. But the path begins with a single conscious act of giving from fullness and a single conscious act of receiving with gratitude. By practicing both sides of the equation, you become what you are meant to be. Not a stagnant pond that hoards, nor a dry channel that is depleted, but a vibrant flowing river, a conduit through which the universe's infinite abundance can flow freely, nourishing you and everything you touch. Chapter 6. The Seed and the Harvest. Patience and trust in the process. We live under a silent tyranny, one that governs our days, dictates our emotions, and sabotages our deepest dreams. It is the tyranny of now. Our culture has become addicted to instant gratification. We want food in minutes, information in seconds, success overnight. We celebrate the entrepreneur who became a millionaire in a year, and the influencer who gained 1 million followers in a month. We have confused speed with value and immediacy with merit, and this obsession with quickness has poisoned our relationship with the most fundamental and sacred creation process that exists, the process of growth. When it comes to our own abundance, we apply this same impatient and demanding mindset. We plant the seed of an intention in the morning, a new business, a health goal, the desire for a loving relationship, and by the afternoon, we are frantically digging it up to see if it has germinated. If we don't see immediate, tangible results, our mind, trained in scarcity, jumps to a quick and brutal conclusion. This isn't working. We abandon the seed, declare it dead, and go off in search of a new quick fix, a new technique, a new trick that promises the harvest without the tediousness of sowing and cultivation. This cycle of initial enthusiasm, impatient action, and premature abandonment is one of the main reasons abundance seems to elude us. It is not because our intentions are not powerful. It is not because we are incapable. It is because we have forgotten the most fundamental law of nature. All creation of value follows a rhythm, a cycle, a process. Nothing that is lasting and beautiful is born overnight. A majestic oak does not sprout in a day. A child does not become an adult in a week. Abundance is not an event. It is a harvest. And a harvest is the inevitable result of a process that is honored with two of the most underestimated and powerful qualities of human consciousness, patience and trust. This chapter is an invitation to detox from the tyranny of now and to realign yourself with the organic, sustainable rhythm of creation. It is a manual for becoming a master gardener of your own life, someone who understands the seasons of growth and knows when to plant, when to water, when to wait, and when to harvest with gratitude. The 4 seasons of creation. To begin cultivating this mastery, we must understand the seasons of every creative process, the 4 phases that every intention must pass through to manifest in the physical world. They are the seasons of the soul. Winter, clear intention. Winter in nature is a season of apparent inactivity. The surface is still, often frozen, but underground in the darkness, essential profound work is taking place. Life is pulling back, accumulating energy, preparing for the rebirth of spring. In our creative process, winter is the intention phase. It is the moment of inner stillness, clarity, and soil preparation. Often in our eagerness to do something, we skip this phase. We jump into action without a clear idea of what seed we actually want to plant. And then we wonder why our harvest is a confusing mix of plants we didn't want. Winter invites us to pause. It asks us to withdraw from the noise of the outside world and enter the fertile silence of our own being to answer the most important question: what do I truly desire to plant in the garden of my life? This is not a superficial question. It goes beyond a simple "I want more money." Winter clarity asks us to go deeper. Why do I want more money? What feeling, what state of being do I believe the money will give me? Is it security? Freedom? Impact? By clarifying the emotional why behind our desire, we are selecting the most potent seed. Furthermore, winter is the time to prepare the soil. The soil is your state of consciousness, your beliefs. Is your soil fertile and receptive, or is it full of the rocks of doubt and the weeds of unworthiness? The work of winter is to use the tools we have learned, dismantling scarcity beliefs, repairing our vessel of deservingness, practicing gratitude for the soil we already have. It is an internal, invisible, but absolutely crucial work. Without well-prepared soil and a clearly chosen seed, the spring sowing will be in vain. Winter is the act of dreaming with intention, of visualizing the future harvest not as a distant hope but as a felt certainty, knowing that everything that will exist externally must first be carefully nurtured in the silent darkness of the interior. Spring. Inspired and consistent. Action. Then comes spring, the season of doing, of sowing. The energy accumulated during the winter now seeks an outlet. But spring action is not the frantic struggle we are accustomed to. It is inspired and deliberate action. The sowing of the seed is the first committed step. It is the act of turning the ethereal intention into a first tangible movement. If your winter intention was to write a book, the spring sowing is opening a new document and writing the first sentence. If your intention was to start a business, the sowing is registering the name or making the first call. It is an act of faith that declares to the universe, I am serious, but sowing is just the beginning. Spring demands consistent watering, and this is where our patience is tested for the first time. Watering is not a dramatic act. It is a series of small, consistent, and often repetitive actions. It is writing 300 words each day. It is dedicating an hour each evening to your project. It is making that follow-up call. It is the daily, unglamorous work of nurturing your intention. Our mistake is that we often scorn the power of these small actions. We believe we need to make grandiose, heroic gestures to achieve results, but the gardener knows that it is not the occasional flood that grows the plant, but the constant dripping. The key to spring action is to focus your energy and your metric of success on the process, not the result. Your job is not to make the seed germinate. That is outside your control. Your job is to water the seed today. If you have watered the seed, you have had a successful day, period. This shift in focus is radically liberating. It takes you out of anxiety about the future and anchors you in the power of the present. By focusing on the daily watering, you are building the momentum and consistency that are the true driving force of growth. Summer, the test of patience after. Spring comes the most challenging season of all. Summer, the test of patience. On the surface, during summer, growth seems to explode. The sprout that appeared in spring turns into a plant. The leaves unfurl. But most of the most important work remains invisible. Underground, the roots are extending, deepening, creating the support system that will allow the plant to bear fruit later. In our journey, summer is the period between the start of our actions and the manifestation of the final results. It is the longest and most dangerous phase for our dreams. It is here that the tyranny of now attacks most fiercely. We have already been watering for weeks or months, and although we see some small sprouts, the great harvest we visualized in winter still seems very far away, and the cavern of our mind fills with the echoes of doubt. Am I doing the right thing? Why is it taking so long? Look at that other person. Their plant is already a tree and mine is just a stalk. Maybe this seed was defective. Maybe I am defective. Summer is the test of our faith. Faith not as blind belief, but as active trust in the invisible process. It is the capacity to keep watering the plant, day after day, even when we see no dramatic growth on the surface. It is the art of protecting our tender sprout from the weeds of comparison and the scorching sun of our own impatience. The fundamental practice of summer is active detachment. It is a paradoxical state. On one hand, you are actively committed to the process, to the daily watering. You are not passive. On the other hand, you are completely detached from the immediate result and the exact when and how of the manifestation. You trust that the laws of nature, the laws of the universe, are taking care of the underground growth. This detachment is not indifference. It is the highest form of confidence. It is the understanding that trying to force growth is the best way to kill it. Imagine a gardener who, impatient, digs up their seed every day to see if the roots are growing. That gardener will never have a harvest. Our work in summer is to take care of the environment, continue nurturing the plant with our consistent actions, but let life work its invisible magic in its own perfect timing. Autumn, the grateful harvest finally. If we have navigated the other 3 seasons with awareness, autumn, the grateful harvest arrives. Autumn is the season of manifestation, of materialization. The fruits of our labor finally ripen and are ready to be picked. But even here there is an art. The harvest is not merely an act of taking, but an act of receiving. And as we learned, our capacity to receive is crucial. The harvest often arrives in unexpected ways. You planted the seed of a new business hoping to get Type A clients, but suddenly an incredible Type Z opportunity appears, one you had never considered. The rigid mindset might see this as a failure of the original plan. The consciousness of abundance sees it as the universe delivering the fruit in a more creative way than you had imagined. Harvesting with grace means being open to the manifestation not always looking exactly like the image you had in your mind, and trusting that what arrives is exactly what you need. And once the fruit is in our hands, the final and most important practice is gratitude. The harvest is not the end of the cycle. It is the beginning of the next. By receiving the fruits with deep, genuine gratitude, we are acknowledging the magic of the process. We are honoring our collaboration with the universe, and we are collecting not only the fruit, but also the seeds it contains. Every harvest contains the seeds of the next sowing. By celebrating our achievements, however small, we are generating the energy and inspiration necessary for the next winter of intention. We close the circle not as an end, but as an upward spiral of continuous growth and abundance. The river practice. Navigating the seasons, understanding these 4 seasons is the map. Now we need a compass to navigate through them. The compass is your own consciousness. To help you tune it, I invite you to a visualization practice, a journey through your own growth cycle. Find your space of stillness. Close your eyes and bring your attention to your breath. With each inhalation, feel yourself filling with potential. With each exhalation, release the need for immediacy. Now bring a seed to your mind, an intention, a desire you long to manifest in your life. Hold it in your awareness. Enter winter. Visualize a dark, rich, fertile soil. It is the soil of your consciousness. Feel the silent, expectant cold of this season. Now plant your seed of intention in this soil. But don't rush. Before covering it, infuse it with your why. What feeling will this harvest bring you? Freedom, joy, security? Charge the seed with that emotional energy. Now gently cover it with the earth of trust. Know that in this darkness the plan is already in motion. Rest in the certainty of this preparatory phase. Enter spring. Now feel the energy begin to shift. The spring sun starts to warm the earth. We enter spring. Visualize the first action you can take to nurture this seed. A small sprout of action. Visualize it clearly. And then visualize yourself watering this seed day after day with consistent actions. Feel the satisfaction of the process, the simple joy of tending to your intention. Don't worry about the growth. Focus on the faithfulness of your watering. Enter summer. The sunlight becomes more intense. We enter the long, warm summer. A small green stalk has sprouted from the earth. It is exciting but also vulnerable, and the harvest seems distant. Now visualize the weeds of doubt and comparison trying to grow around your plant, and visualize yourself with patient calm, pulling them out one by one. When the thought "this isn't working" arises, simply notice it and return to your watering. When you see others' plants growing faster, bless them and return to tending your own. Feel the deep trust in the roots that are growing underground, strong and deep, even though you cannot see them. Feel the faith in the invisible process. Enter autumn. Finally feel the air become cooler and crisper. The leaves change color. Autumn has arrived. Look at your plant. It has become a robust, beautiful manifestation, laden with the fruit of your intention. It has manifested. It is not a sudden miracle, but the natural result of your conscious care through the seasons. Now the most important part, extend your hands and receive the harvest. Feel the weight of the fruit in your hands. Smell it, taste it, and allow a wave of gratitude to flood every cell of your being. Thank the seed for its potential, the soil for its nourishment, the sun and rain for their support, and yourself, the gardener, for your patience and your trust. Take a deep breath, and as you exhale, slowly open your eyes. You have gone through the complete cycle. Remember this feeling. Abundance is not a lottery you hope to win. It is a harvest you cultivate. Your job is not to force the flower, but to tend the garden. Choose your seeds wisely. Water them with consistent action. Protect them from doubt with fierce patience. And prepare to receive the harvest. Because under the infallible laws of the universe, if you have cared for the garden, the harvest is inevitable. Chapter 7. Tuning the Frequency, the Vibration of Prosperity. We have journeyed through the seasons of the soul, learning to honor the rhythm of patience and trust, understanding that abundance is a harvest that follows deliberate cultivation. Now we are going to dive into the subtle physics that underlies this entire process. We are going to explore the energy that makes the seed germinate in the darkness and attracts the rain to water it. We are going to talk about vibration. This concept may sound ethereal or abstract to you, but I assure you it is the most practical and fundamental force you are operating with in every second of your existence. Understanding and learning to manage your own vibratory frequency is moving from being a gardener who waits for the right conditions to becoming the very weather that nourishes your garden. Quantum physics has demonstrated in the last century a truth that mystics have known for millennia. Everything is energy. The universe, at its most fundamental level, is not made up of solid matter, but of fields of energy vibrating at different speeds or frequencies. The chair you sit on, the light coming through the window, the sound of my voice, your own body, everything, absolutely everything, is energy in a particular state of vibration. A rock vibrates at a very slow, dense frequency, which gives it its solidity. Visible light vibrates at an incredibly fast frequency, which gives it its ethereal quality. And your thoughts, and even more powerfully, your emotions, are also vibrations. They are not abstract events confined to your skull. They are energy waves that you constantly emit, like a radio station. And this is where the key to creation lies. The universe operates under a fundamental principle, known as the law of resonance. This principle establishes that vibrations of a similar frequency attract and reinforce each other. You can see this in music. If you have two tuning forks tuned to the same note, and you strike one to make it vibrate, the second tuning fork at a certain distance will begin to vibrate on its own, singing the same note without anyone having touched it. It has entered into sympathetic resonance. The saying "like attracts like" is not merely a New Age adage, it is a fundamental law of energetic physics. Your personal frequency. The radio station now, apply this law to your own life. You are the most powerful radio station in the universe. Your dominant state of being, a combination of your beliefs, thoughts, and above all your emotions, constitutes your personal vibratory frequency. You are a broadcast tower constantly emitting a signal to the quantum field of possibilities around you. The universe, which is neutral and non-judgmental, simply acts as a gigantic receiver that picks up your signal and returns experiences, people, and circumstances that resonate with that same frequency. It doesn't give you what you want with your mind, it gives you what you are with your vibration. The most important question you can ask yourself at any moment is, what frequency am I emitting right now? To simplify, we can divide the spectrum of human experience into two broad frequency ranges: the frequency of scarcity and the frequency of abundance. The frequency of scarcity is a low-energy, dense and contractive vibration. It is the frequency of fear. Its harmonies are anxiety, worry, doubt, envy, jealousy, guilt, shame, and despair. When you worry about money, you are emitting the frequency of lack of money. When you feel envy of another's success, you are emitting the frequency of "my own success is absent." When you feel lonely and desperate to find a partner, you are emitting the potent frequency of absence of love. From this vibratory state, by the law of resonance, you can only attract more circumstances that validate and reinforce those same feelings. You will attract unexpected bills. You will see more proof of others' success that makes you feel worse, and you will encounter people who are unavailable or who reflect your own lack of self-love. You are tuned to the scarcity radio, and that is the only music you can hear. On the other hand, the frequency of abundance is a high-energy, light and expansive vibration. It is the frequency of love. Its harmonies are gratitude, joy, passion, enthusiasm, confidence, appreciation, and peace. When you feel genuine gratitude, for the home you have, however small, you are emitting the frequency of "I have a wonderful home." When you feel joy for the simple fact of being alive, you are emitting the frequency of fullness of life. When you feel a serene confidence that everything will work out, you are emitting the frequency of security and universal support. From this vibratory state, by the same infallible law of resonance, you become a magnet for experiences that match that frequency. Opportunities seem to arise out of nowhere. People are drawn to your positive energy, and solutions to your problems appear with an almost magical ease. You are tuned to the symphony of abundance, and the entire universe conspires to play it for you. Emotions, your real-time frequency. Gauge so, how do we know what frequency we are vibrating at in a given moment? Fortunately, we have been equipped with an infallible real-time guidance system, our emotions. Your emotions are your personal frequency gauge. They are not rewards or punishments. They are not good or bad. They are simply information. They are the static hiss or the clarity of the music that tells you where on the dial you are. An emotion that feels bad, like fear, anger, sadness, or frustration, is simply an indicator that your current thoughts and vibration are out of alignment with your fundamental desire for abundance and well-being. It is the static telling you that you are tuned to a frequency that does not serve your highest purpose. You don't have to punish yourself for feeling bad. On the contrary, you must thank your emotional guidance system for the valuable information. The negative feeling is an alarm telling you, attention, the frequency you are emitting right now is creating a reality you do not desire. It is time to tune in again. Conversely, an emotion that feels good, like joy, love, enthusiasm, or peace, is the indicator that you are in vibrational alignment. It is the clear, resonant music confirming that you are tuned directly to the frequency of your desires. The feeling of joy is not the reward at the end of the road. It is the signal that you are on the right road. Your job, therefore, is not to eliminate negative emotions, but to use them as a compass. When you feel static, use it as a reminder to reach out and gently turn your dial toward a frequency that feels a little better. Fasten the art of feeling it real first. Here is where we arrive at the most revolutionary practice in abundance creation, a principle that completely inverts the logic we have been taught. It is the art of feeling it real first. Our scarcity programming tells us that the creation sequences have be. When I have the money, then I will do the things I want, and finally I will be happy and abundant. The feeling is the end result, dependent on external manifestation. The universe, however, operates with the exact opposite sequence. Be, do, have. First, you must be the person who already has what they desire. You must embody the vibratory state, the emotional frequency of your fulfilled desire. From that being, you will be inspired to do actions aligned with that frequency, and as an inevitable result of that being and doing, you will end up having the external manifestation that matches your vibration. The feeling is not the result, it is the cause. You must generate the feeling of abundance before the physical evidence of abundance has arrived. You must feel prosperous to attract prosperity. You must feel loved to attract love. You must feel healthy to attract health. This may sound like a game of make-believe or self-deception, but it is much deeper than that. It is not about faking it. It is about using the power of your imagination and your memory, two of the most sophisticated tools of your consciousness, to generate a real emotional and biochemical experience in your body. Your nervous system cannot distinguish between a vividly imagined experience and a real experience. If you close your eyes and remember a moment of pure joy from your past with all detail, your brain will release the same happiness neurotransmitters it released at that moment. Your body will begin to vibrate at the frequency of joy, here and now. Similarly, if you imagine your desired future with enough sensory and emotional detail, as if it is already happening, your body will begin to generate the chemistry and the frequency of that fulfilled reality. By doing this, you stop being someone who wants something, and you become a vibratory correspondence with it. You become the tuning fork that, by the law of resonance, will activate the tuning fork of your desire in the quantum field. High-frequency techniques. To practice this art of conscious tuning, there are several powerful techniques for deliberately raising your frequency. The rampage of appreciation. This is an amplified, high-energy version of gratitude. When you feel caught in a low frequency, instead of analyzing the problem, start speaking out loud or writing frantically in a journal about anything, however small, that you appreciate in your immediate environment. Don't stop to think about it. Let it flow. I appreciate this chair supporting me. I appreciate the color of this wall. I appreciate the light coming through the window. I appreciate the sound of my own breath. I appreciate the fact that I have eyes to see and ears to hear. I appreciate this body that allows me to experience life. Keep going, building momentum. What happens is that by deliberately focusing on the positive, your vibration begins to rise. After a few minutes of this practice, you will feel noticeably lighter and more expansive. It is a real-time frequency shift too. Memory evocation. Your past is a library of frequencies. Close your eyes and ask your memory a question. Show me a moment when I felt truly alive, joyful, and successful. Let a memory emerge. Don't analyze it. Immerse yourself in it. Where were you? Who were you with? What did you see? What did you hear? What did you smell? And most importantly, what did you feel in your body? Recreate that sensation of triumph, love, or pure joy in your chest, in your stomach, in your smile. Stay in that feeling for a few minutes. By doing this, you are proving to your body that you know how to generate this frequency. You do not depend on an external event. You can access it at will. 3. Future embodiment. This is the feeling it real practice at its maximum expression. Instead of looking at a memory, you are going to project yourself into your desired future, as if it is already your present reality. Close your eyes and visualize that your goal has already been fulfilled. But don't just watch it like a movie. Step into the scene. If your desire is financial abundance, don't just see a bank account with many zeros. Feel what you would feel. Is it a sensation of calm and security in your solar plexus? Is it a feeling of freedom and lightness in your shoulders? How would you walk through the world with that feeling? What would your posture be like? How would you breathe? If your desire is a loving relationship, feel the warmth of your partner's hand in yours. Feel the peace and joy of a deep connection in your heart. Embody the state of being of the person who already lives that reality. Practicing this daily for a few minutes is the most powerful act of magnetism you can perform. You are tuning your personal tuning fork to the note of your desired future, inviting it to resonate with you in the present. The river practice, frequency check-in and tuning to integrate this vibratory awareness into your life. I invite you to a simple yet profound daily practice, the frequency check-in and tuning. Several times throughout the day, you can set an alarm if it helps. Pause for 30 seconds. Close your eyes, take a breath, and ask yourself the question, what frequency am I emitting right now? How do I feel? Simply notice the answer. There is no judgment. If you feel great, fantastic. Acknowledge and enjoy it. If you feel stressed, anxious, or angry, also fantastic. Thank your guidance system for the information. Once you have done the check-in, if you notice you are in a low frequency, perform a quick tuning. You don't have to do a 20-minute meditation. The goal is simply to climb one rung on the emotional scale. Your tuning can be as simple as doing a 60-second rampage of appreciation, or evoking a happy memory for 30 seconds, or standing up, stretching, and taking 3 deep breaths, or putting on your favorite song and moving a little, or going outside and looking at the sky. Any small conscious action that makes you feel 1% better. By practicing this check-in and tuning throughout the day, you become the conscious DJ of your own energy. You stop being a passive victim of your moods and become the deliberate tuner of your own vibration. And by doing so, you take the most powerful tool of creation into your hands. You are an energetic being living in an energetic universe, and your greatest power resides not in what you do, but in the frequency from which you do it. Learn to manage your vibration, and the universe will have no choice but to rearrange itself to match the beautiful music you are emitting. Chapter 8. The Wealth of Relationships. The Abundance of Connection and Love. We have traveled through the internal landscapes of the mind. We have learned to redefine wealth, to dismantle scarcity, to cultivate gratitude, and to feel deserving. We have explored the rhythms of patience and learned to tune our own frequency. But now we arrive at the arena where all these principles are tested in the most beautiful and challenging way: our relationships. Because you can have all the financial success, all the time freedom, and all the vitality in the world, but if your life lacks deep, meaningful human connections, you will experience a form of poverty that no material wealth can alleviate. The abundance of connection, love, and belonging is not a simple add-on to a prosperous life. It is its very heart. However, in no other area of our life does the scarcity mindset operate in such a subtle and often such a destructive way. We have been conditioned to see love and connection not as an infinite ocean we can swim in, but as a limited resource we must compete for. This fundamental belief in relational scarcity is the root of most of our suffering in friendship, family, and romance. This chapter is an invitation to unlearn those painful lessons and to discover that the true wealth of relationships does not come from finding the perfect person to fill our void, but from becoming a person so full of our own abundance that our relationships become a joyful overflow. And the poisons of relational scarcity. Scarcity mindset poisons our connections through several mechanisms. The first is the belief in love as a zero-sum game. This is the mental framework that views love as a fixed-size pie. If my partner gives a slice of their time, attention, or affection to a friend, a hobby, or even to themselves, my scarcity mind immediately concludes that there is less left for me. This belief is the mother of jealousy, possessiveness, and control. It leads us to see our partner's other connections not as an expansion of their happiness, but as a threat to ours. It drives us to try to manage their time, monitor their interactions, and become the exclusive center of their universe. But love is not a finite resource. Love is energy, and like all energy, it is not depleted by being shared. It expands. A candle does not lose its flame by lighting another candle. On the contrary, the light in the room doubles. The abundance mindset understands that the more love and joy a person experiences in all areas of their life, the more love and joy they will have to bring into the relationship. The second mechanism, and perhaps the most common, is the empty cup syndrome. Many of us approach relationships not as a source wanting to share its water, but as a beggar with an empty cup, desperately seeking someone to fill it. We look to a partner for the validation we don't give ourselves, the happiness we haven't learned to cultivate, the sense of wholeness we feel we lack. We place the impossible burden of completing us on another person's shoulders. Early in a relationship, this can create an intense dynamic of mutual need that we mistake for deep love. But it is an unsustainable foundation. No human being can permanently fill another's void. Sooner or later, the pressure becomes too much. The giver feels depleted, and the receiver never feels satisfied, because the trickle of external validation can never fill a wound that is bleeding from within. Relationships born from need turn into dynamics of codependency, where the fear of losing the external source of happiness is so great that we tolerate unhealthy behaviors and lose our own identity. This dynamic of need often leads to the third poison: transactional relationships. As we saw in the chapter on giving and receiving, the scarcity mind is a meticulous accountant. In relationships, this manifests as constant scorekeeping. How many times have I called? How many times have they called? I did this for you, so now you owe me this. Conversations turn into negotiations and acts of kindness into deposits in a favor account. This approach eliminates all spontaneity and generosity from the bond. It prevents us from giving for the sheer joy of giving, and makes us receive with a sense of obligation. Living in a transactional relationship is exhausting. It's like running a small business with the person you love, where each person is constantly auditing the other's performance to ensure the deal is fair. True intimacy cannot flourish in the boardroom of emotional accounting. Finally, scarcity imprisons us behind the walls of the fear of vulnerability. We believe that if we show the other person our true selves, our insecurities, our fears, our broken or shameful parts, they will reject us. This belief leads us to practice emotional hoarding. We hide our true feelings behind a mask of indifference or perfection. We answer, "I'm fine," when our inner world is falling apart. We don't share our deepest dreams for fear of being laughed at. We don't express our needs for fear of seeming needy. We live together but emotionally isolated, each in our own fortress. And then we wonder why we feel so lonely. We feel lonely because we have made it impossible for anyone to truly know us. We have prioritized safety over connection, without realizing that true safety in a relationship is only born from the authentic connection that vulnerability allows. The abundance model, being the source. So, what is the alternative? How do we cultivate abundance in our relationships? The change, as always, does not start by trying to change the other person. It starts with a radical shift in our own internal posture. It begins with the fundamental principle of becoming the source. The key to infinite relational wealth is to stop seeking relationships to feel full and start filling yourself so you can share your fullness. This is the most important work you will ever do. It means taking 100% responsibility for your own happiness, your own validation, and your own self-worth. It means doing the work we have explored in previous chapters, cultivating gratitude for your own life, repairing your vessel of deservingness until you know, at a cellular level, that you are a complete and worthy being on your own. It means having your own passions, your own friendships, your own source of purpose. When you approach relationships from this place of fullness, everything changes. You stop looking for a partner to complete you and start looking for a companion with whom to share your wholeness. The energy you bring is no longer the needy energy of the beggar, but the magnetic, radiant energy of the source. You don't ask, "What can I get from you?" How about you show up saying, "This is who I am and this is what I have to share." This posture frees you from the fear of rejection. If someone doesn't resonate with you, it is not a wound to your fundamental worth. It is simply a lack of compatibility. And it gives you the power to choose your relationships based not on desperation, but on a conscious choice of who aligns with your energy and your vision. From this foundation of personal fullness, we can adopt a new understanding of love. Love is not a finite resource. It is an infinite energy that expands with use. When you operate from abundance, you understand that your capacity to love is not a pie that is divided. It is a flame that can light 1,000 other flames without diminishing itself in the slightest. Your partner's success, happiness, and other relationships are not a threat to you. They are a celebration, because you know that the fuller and happier that person is, the more expansive energy they will bring to your connection. This understanding dissolves jealousy and possessiveness. It allows you to love with a generosity and freedom that the scarcity mind cannot conceive. It allows you to celebrate the other's autonomy and growth instead of fearing them. The abundance mindset also practices what we might call the presumption of generosity. The scarcity mind, as we have seen, is inherently suspicious. It interprets every action through a filter of potential threat or selfishness. An unanswered text message is proof of disinterest. A critical comment is a personal attack. The abundance mind, on the contrary, consciously chooses to give the benefit of the doubt. It assumes the best intentions in others until proven otherwise. An unanswered text message is interpreted as, "They must be busy." A critical comment is seen as, "Maybe they are having a bad day," or "Maybe there is a truth here I can examine," rather than a verdict on our worth. This practice of the presumption of generosity is not naive. It is deeply wise. It prevents the creation of hundreds of unnecessary conflicts based on stories we tell ourselves. It creates a climate of safety and trust in the relationship, where mistakes are seen as mistakes and not as betrayals. And most importantly, relational abundance embraces vulnerability as the language of intimacy. From a place of inner fullness, showing your true self no longer feels so risky. You know your worth is not on the line. Vulnerability ceases to be a weakness and becomes an invitation. When you share your fears, your insecurities, or your wounds, you do so not for the other person to save you, but for them to see you. It is an act of saying, "This is who I am. I trust you enough to show you." This act of courage is magnetic. It invites the other person to take off their own armor and show their true self in return. Vulnerability is the fastest, most direct bridge to the heart of another human being. It is the only way to move from the performance of connection to the actual experience of intimacy. The wealth of our relationships, therefore, is not measured by what we get from them, but by the quality of the energy we contribute to them. An abundant relationship is not one where there is never conflict, but one where conflict is navigated with curiosity and respect. It is not one where two people complete each other, but one where two whole people celebrate and empower each other. To begin being a conscious contributor of abundance in your connections, I invite you to a simple yet powerful practice. The river practice, the overflow of appreciation, First, choose one relationship in your life that you wish to nurture and enrich. It can be your partner, a friend, a sibling, your mother or father. Bring this person to your mind. Appreciation, seeing the essence. The first step is appreciation. Take a notebook and write a list of at least 5 specific qualities you genuinely appreciate about this person. And here is the trick. They cannot be things the person does for you. Not, I appreciate them making me dinner, but inherent qualities of their being. For example, I appreciate their contagious laughter. I appreciate their unwavering loyalty. I appreciate the way their curious mind sees the world. I appreciate their courage to speak the truth. I appreciate their tenderness with animals. This exercise forces you to see the person beyond their function in your life, to see them in their own beautiful essence. The overflow visualization, energetic giving. Close your eyes. First, connect with your own source of fullness. Feel your always full cup, that sensation of self-love and worth you have been cultivating. Feel that energy as a warm light in your center. Now visualize the person you have chosen in front of you, and from your overflowing heart, imagine sending a beam of that warm golden light directly to that person's heart. You are not trying to change them or get anything from them. You are simply bathing them in the energy of your own appreciation, your own love. You are giving from your surplus unconditionally, without expectation. Feel the joy of this act of energetic giving. External expression, the bridge. The third and final step is external expression. Energy solidifies through action. In the next 24 hours, your practice is to take one of the qualities from your list and express it to that person, directly, simply, and without expecting anything in return. It doesn't have to be a grand speech. It can be a text message that says, "Hey, I was thinking about you and just wanted to tell you, I really admire how loyal you are as a friend. It means a lot to me." Or in a conversation you can say, "You know, one of the things I love most about you is your amazing sense of humor." This simple act of expressing specific, genuine appreciation is like pouring a high-potency nutrient into the soil of your relationship. It cuts through transactionalism, surprises and delights, and creates an opening for deeper connection. You are actively injecting a dose of abundance into the river that flows between you. Start with one relationship. Practice these 3 steps, and watch how the dynamic begins to change. By becoming a source of overflowing appreciation and love, by the law of resonance, you become irresistibly magnetic to the love and appreciation of others. You stop looking for wealth in others, and you become the wealth itself. Chapter 9. The Treasure of Time and Energy, the True Currency of Life. We have dedicated a considerable part of our journey to dismantling the limiting beliefs surrounding money, the most visible symbol of abundance in our culture. But now we must turn our attention to the 2 most fundamental, most precious and paradoxically, most neglected forms of wealth in our existence, time and energy. These are not simply variables to manage in our pursuit of abundance. They are the very substance from which abundance is made. They are the true currency of life. You can have all the money in the world, but if you lack the time to enjoy it and the energy to live it, you possess a hollow fortune, a treasure locked in a vault for which you have lost the key. In no other area is the mirage of scarcity more endemic and debilitating. We live in the midst of a silent epidemic of time poverty and energy depletion. The most common phrase in our modern vocabulary is, "I'm so busy." We utter it almost as a badge of honor, a testament to our importance and diligence. But beneath this facade of productivity lies a deep anxiety, the feeling that life is slipping through our fingers, that we run faster and faster only to stay in the same place. We live in a state of chronic hurry, rushing from one task to the next, with the mind always 5 steps ahead of the body, never fully present in the only moment we truly possess, the now. The poverty of time and energy. This poverty of time is a mental construction, not a mathematical reality. We all have the same 24 hours in the day, yet some people seem to navigate them with a sense of spaciousness and calm, while others feel perpetually drowned. The difference is not in their clocks, but in their consciousness. The scarcity mindset has taught us to see time as an enemy, an external finite resource that is constantly being depleted and that we must conquer, manage, and optimize every last second of. We see time as a straight line rushing toward the future, and we feel the need to fill it with doing, to justify our existence. This perspective leads us to a series of counterproductive behaviors. The most common is multitasking, the myth of modern efficiency. We believe that by doing several things at once, we are saving time. But neuroscience has conclusively shown that the human brain cannot perform multiple attention-requiring tasks. What it actually does is rapidly shift its focus from one task to another, a process known as context switching. Each of these shifts carries a cognitive cost, a small loss of mental time and energy. At the end of the day, multitasking not only produces lower quality work, but it leaves us mentally exhausted and with the feeling of not having been truly present in any of the activities we performed. It is the perfect recipe for a fragmented, superficial life. Another symptom of time scarcity is the inability to say no. Driven by the fear of missing out, FOMO, or the need to please others, we overload our calendars with commitments that do not align with our true priorities. Every yes we give to something that is not important is a tacit no to something that is: our rest, our well-being, our own projects. We become slaves to the agendas of others, reacting to their requests instead of acting proactively from our own intentions. But time poverty is only half the equation. Its inseparable partner is energy poverty. In fact, energy and not time is our most valuable resource. Time is a fixed constant. Energy is a dynamic variable. You can have an entire evening free, but if you are completely depleted, that time is useless. You cannot use it to connect with your partner, to play with your children, or to work on your passion. It is empty time, a check with no funds in your life bank. True productivity and true fullness do not come from managing time, but from managing energy. The scarcity mindset also gives us a distorted view of energy. We see it as a finite resource that is spent throughout the day and only recharged by sleep. But this is only part of the story. Human energy is much more complex. It is not only spent, but also leaks. And our lives often are full of energetic leaks that drain our vitality without us realizing it. The biggest energy leak is, without a doubt, our own internal dialogue. As we saw, the words we say to ourselves have a real biochemical impact. Chronic worry, self-criticism, resentment, the mental replaying of past conversations, each of these thought patterns is a hole in our energy tank. Worry is like leaving a car engine running all night. It doesn't get you anywhere, but it consumes all the fuel. Resentment is like carrying a heavy backpack full of stones. It exhausts you every step of the way. It is not the workday that leaves us exhausted at the end of the day. Often it is the second workday we perform in our own mind, fighting imaginary enemies and reliving old battles. Another massive leak is tolerations. These are all the small and large things in our environment and our life that don't work, that irritate us, or that we simply don't like, but have decided to put up with. It might be the clutter on our desk, an uncomfortable office chair, a toxic relationship we avoid confronting, a burnt-out light bulb we haven't changed in months. Each of these tolerations, however small, is like an app running in the background on our mental phone, silently consuming a portion of our battery. The act of seeing it and registering it as an annoyance day after day is a constant drip of energy. The sum of dozens of these small drips can leave us in a state of chronic exhaustion with no apparent cause. Finally, the biggest energy leak comes from an inauthentic life. When our daily actions are in deep disagreement with our core values, when we play a role that doesn't feel like ours, when we say yes while our heart screams no, we create immense internal friction. It is an energetic civil war. It requires a colossal amount of energy to maintain the mask, repress our truth, and force ourselves down a path that is not ours. Inexplicable exhaustion and a lack of passion are often not signs that we need a vacation, but a warning alarm from our soul, telling us that the energy we are spending is not aligned with our authentic self. Cultivating time and energy abundance. So how do we move from this chronic poverty to an abundance of time and energy? The paradigm shift is moving from being a scarcity manager to becoming an abundance cultivator. We stop obsessing over saving time and start investing it wisely. And we stop seeing energy as something that is spent and start seeing it as something that is cultivated, managed and renewed. To cultivate the abundance of time, we must abandon the idea that we can manage time. You cannot manage a universal constant. What you can manage is yourself within time. And the most powerful tool for this is presence. The perception of time is subjective. When we are distracted, bored, or anxious, time seems to drag or fly by without us noticing. But when we are fully present, absorbed in the moment, time seems to expand. A 10-minute conversation in which you are completely present, listening with your whole being, can create more connection than a 2-hour dinner in which both of you are distracted by your phones. A 15-minute walk in nature, paying attention to every sound and color, can be more restorative than an entire weekend spent in a state of distracted worry. Presence is a time multiplier. It doesn't give you more hours, but it extracts infinitely greater richness and fullness from the hours you already have. The second principle of time abundance is clarity as a creator of space. The feeling of not having time is rarely a problem of a lack of hours. It is almost always a problem of a lack of priorities. When you don't know what is truly important to you, everything seems important. Every email, every request, every new opportunity competes for your attention on equal terms, and you find yourself drowning in the tyranny of the urgent. The most powerful act you can do to create time in your life is to sit in silence and define your big rocks, as Stephen Covey calls them. What are the 3-5 things that, at the end of your life, will have made the biggest difference? Your health, your key relationships, your creative contribution, your spiritual growth. Once you have this clarity, decision-making becomes radically simple. Faced with any new request for your time, the question is not, do I have time for this, but does this serve my big rocks? This clarity gives you the permission and courage to say no with grace to the countless gravel and grains of sand that would otherwise fill your day, creating a wide open space for the things that truly matter. To cultivate the abundance of energy, the first step is the ruthless elimination of leaks. You must become a plumber of your own vitality. This requires an honest audit. What thought patterns are draining you? The practice of reframing and gratitude are your mental plumbing tools. What tolerations are you putting up with? Make a list of every small thing in your environment that annoys you and commit to fixing one per week. The burst of energy you get from finally fixing that squeaky door or tidying that chaotic drawer is astonishing. What relationships leave you feeling drained and negative? It's time to set loving but firm boundaries. Eliminating leaks doesn't create new energy, but it stops the waste of the energy you already have, which often has a more immediate and dramatic impact. Once you have started plugging the leaks, the next step is to invest in your energy sources. Energy, unlike time, is renewable. But it doesn't renew automatically. It requires conscious investment. You must identify your personal energy sources. What activities, people, or environments recharge you and fill you with vitality? For some, it might be spending time in nature. For others, listening to music, dancing, painting, having a deep conversation, playing with a pet, or reading a good book. Make a list of your energy sources, and then the crucial step, schedule them. Treat these activities not as luxuries for when you have time, but as non-negotiable high-priority appointments. Scheduling 30 minutes for a walk in the park is not selfish. It is a strategic investment that will provide you with the energy needed to be more effective, patient, and creative in all other areas of your life. Finally, all energy abundance rests on the foundation of our physical well-being. Our body is the power plant that generates the energy we use for everything else. Ignoring its basic maintenance is the most fundamental act of self-sabotage. There are 3 non-negotiable pillars: sleep, nutrition, and movement. The scarcity culture has taught us to view sleep as an enemy of productivity, food as quick fuel or a guilty pleasure, and exercise as a punishment. Abundance consciousness inverts this completely. Sleep is the most powerful charging and repairing practice that exists. Prioritizing 7 to 9 hours of quality sleep is not laziness. It is the smartest performance strategy you can adopt. Nutrition is the act of building your body and brain with high-quality materials. Real unprocessed food is not a cost. It is an investment in your mental clarity and physical vitality. And movement is not an obligation. It is a celebration of life, a way to circulate energy and release accumulated stress. The Yes River practice, diagnosis and strategic action. To begin applying these principles and move from poverty to the wealth of time and energy, I invite you to a diagnosis and action practice. 1. The current wealth audit. For just one day, you are going to keep a simple log of how you invest your time and energy. You don't have to be obsessive, but be honest. Throughout the day, write down the main activities in a notebook and next. To each one, put a plus sign, plus, if it left you feeling more energized, or a minus sign, if it left you feeling more depleted. At the end of the day, look at your list. It will be a revealing map of your leaks and your sources. Where are you investing your most valuable currency, and what is the return on that investment? The sovereignty declaration, the not-to-do list. Based on your audit and your reflection on your big rocks, you are going to create a not-to-do list. Success and abundance often do not come from doing more, but from doing less of what doesn't matter. Your list might include things like, I will not check email during the first hour of the day. I will not say yes to a social commitment out of guilt. I will not participate in gossip. I will not stay up late watching series. This list is your declaration of independence from the thieves of time and energy. Strategic investment. Choose one single energy leak from your audit and take a small action to plug it. And choose one single energy source and schedule a 30-minute appointment with it in your calendar this week as if it were the most important meeting of your life. This is the beginning of a new relationship with the most precious resources you possess. You stop being a crisis manager, rushing to plug holes and put out fires. You become a wise investor, a gardener of your own vitality, and you discover the most liberating truth of all. The abundance you seek is not found in having more hours in the day, but in having more life in your hours. Chapter 10. Living in the Flow, Integrating the Abundance Consciousness. We have reached the end of our exploratory journey, the point where all the rivers of our understanding converge into a vast ocean of consciousness. We have redefined wealth, not as an external possession but as an inner state. We have unmasked the mirage of scarcity and activated the magnet of gratitude. We have repaired our vessel of deservingness, learning to receive with the same grace with which we give. We have honored the seasons of growth, cultivating patience and trust. We have learned to tune our own vibratory frequency and to recognize that love, time, and energy are the true currencies of our existence. Now, we face the most important question of all. How do we live this? How do we move from understanding these principles to embodying them in the fabric of our daily life? How do we become not just students of abundance, but the living manifestation of it? The answer lies in a single word: integration. The final goal is not to do abundance, but to be abundant. It is the step from technique to existence, from practice to presence. It is the art of living in the flow. The nature of flow living in the flow of abundance is not a mystical state reserved for a select few. It is not constant euphoria or the absence of challenges. It is rather a fundamentally different way of relating to life. It is a dance, a constant shift from contraction to expansion, from resistance to permission. It is a deep trust, felt in the bones, that the universe is a benevolent partner and that we have everything we need within us to navigate any current that life presents to us. This chapter is your guide to making this awareness not a concept you visit occasionally, but the permanent home you inhabit. Integration begins with the dissolution of duality. Throughout this audiobook, we have used metaphors of duality to learn: scarcity versus abundance, giving versus receiving, winter versus autumn. These distinctions are useful as learning tools, but at the highest level of consciousness, they dissolve. True abundance is not the victory over scarcity. It is the recognition that scarcity is simply the shadow projected by our own consciousness when we turn our back on the light of our true abundant nature. You don't fight the shadow. You simply turn toward the light, and the shadow disappears on its own. Living in the flow means stopping the categorization of your experiences as good or bad, as successes or failures. Every experience, without exception, simply becomes information. It is data the universe provides to help you calibrate your course. An unexpected bill is no longer a disaster, scarcity language. It is information inviting you to examine your relationship with money and the flow of your finances. Criticism is no longer an attack in a scarcity language. It is information offering you a different perspective, however uncomfortable. When you stop judging and start observing with curiosity, you free yourself from the emotional roller coaster and become a masterful learner of life. You ask, what is this showing me? What is this teaching me about myself or the world? This learner's stance leads us to the second principle of living in the flow: active humility. The scarcity mindset is inherently arrogant. It believes it knows how things should be. It has a rigid plan and gets angry at reality when it doesn't cooperate. Abundance consciousness, on the other hand, is profoundly humble. Not a humility that means diminishing yourself, but one that recognizes that our perspective is limited and that the intelligence of the universe is infinitely vaster. Active humility is the willingness to let go of our plans and our expectations when life presents us with an unexpected current. It is the capacity to say, this is not the path I had planned, but I trust that the river knows where it is going. Let's see where this detour takes me. It is the faith that often today's disappointment is the preparation for tomorrow's blessing, a blessing we could not have received if our original plan had worked out. It is stopping the attempt to be the solitary author of our life and becoming the enthusiastic co-author in collaboration with the flow of existence. We surrender the how to the universe while remaining firm and clear on our why. The third quality of a life in the flow is celebration as a discipline. The scarcity mind, even when it achieves success, rarely pauses to celebrate. Immediately, the voice of the inner critic says, "Yes, but it could have been better," or the voice of the worrier asks, "What now? Will I be able to maintain this level?" Celebration is perpetually postponed for the next big goal, a goal that never arrives. Abundance consciousness understands that celebration is not a reward for success. It is an integral part of the process that creates more success. Celebration is an act of amplified gratitude. It is the deliberate act of pausing to recognize and energetically anchor the progress and manifestation. When you celebrate a small achievement, completing a difficult task, having a brave conversation, you are sending a clear message to your subconscious. This is what I want more of. This feels good. Let's do it again. Celebration releases dopamine, creating a positive neurological feedback loop that motivates you to keep going. You don't have to wait to earn $1 million to open a bottle of champagne. Celebrate the first $100. Celebrate the first client. Celebrate the first page written. Turn your life into a series of small, joyous celebrations, and you will find that the momentum you create is unstoppable. Finally, integration solidifies through service as overflow. In previous chapters, we established that the purpose of filling ourselves is not simply to be full. It is to overflow. Living in the flow is not a narcissistic project of self-improvement. The ultimate goal of cultivating your own abundance is to have more to give. When you live from a state of fullness, service ceases to be a duty or a sacrifice. It becomes the most natural and joyful expression of your being. You no longer ask, "What can I get from the world?" But you wake up every morning with the question, "How can my fullness serve the world today?" This service does not have to be a grand act. It is the way you listen to a colleague who is having a bad day. It is the patience you offer a stressed-out cashier. It is the beauty you create through your work, whether it is a well-organized spreadsheet, a delicious meal, or a piece of art. It is the energy of calm and positivity that you radiate into every room you enter. When you live in the flow, your mere presence becomes an act of service, because you become a walking reminder of what is possible. You become a frequency of abundance that, by the law of resonance, helps awaken the same frequency in others. This is the complete circle. You receive from the universe, you cultivate that energy within you, as then you return it to the world, multiplied through your unique expression. And the river practice, the 3 touches, ritual, we have covered a lot of ground. We have gathered the tools and the maps. But now it is time to put them aside and simply walk. Integration does not happen through more analysis, but through embodied practice. To help you make abundance consciousness not just an idea, but your way of life, I offer you one final continuous practice, the 3 touches ritual. This is not a long meditation. It is a series of 3 micro-practices you can weave throughout your day to constantly recalibrate your frequency and keep yourself in the flow. Each touch corresponds to a key moment of the day, awakening, midday, and nightfall. The morning anchor. This happens in the first minute after you wake up. Before your hand reaches for your phone, before the to-do list floods your mind, before you get out of bed, perform this simple act. Place a hand over your heart, feel its beat, take a deep conscious breath, and then make a single declaration of intention for the day. Not a list of things to do, but a declaration of the being you choose to embody. It might be, today I choose to be an expression of peace and gratitude, or today I choose to see abundance in every moment, or today I choose to flow with confidence and ease. Just one sentence. Feel the truth of that sentence in your body. This 60-second ritual is incredibly powerful. It is like setting the course of your ship before sailing. It prevents you from starting the day in reactive mode and firmly places you in the conscious creator's seat. The midday pivot. Choose a moment around noon. It can be your lunch break, a coffee break to do a 2-minute check-in. This is a moment of recalibration. Ask yourself 2 simple questions. First, what frequency have I been operating on this morning? Be honest. Have you been in the frequency of hurry, stress, scarcity, or have you managed to stay close to your morning intention? No judgment, just observation. Second, regardless of the answer, what is the one thing I can be grateful for from my morning, and what is my intention for the afternoon? The first part of this question reconnects you with gratitude, and the second allows you to reset your day. You don't have to wait until tomorrow to start anew. You can start anew right now. This pivot prevents the negativity of a difficult morning from spreading through the rest of the day and gives you back the power to choose your state. The night harvest. Just before falling asleep, when you are already in bed, dedicate the last few minutes of your waking hours to harvesting the gifts of the day. Close your eyes, and instead of reviewing your worries or planning tomorrow, ask yourself 3 final questions. First, what small success or progress did I celebrate today? Recognize your victories, however modest. This anchors the feeling of achievement. Second, what act of giving or receiving touched my heart today? This connects you with the flow of generosity. Third, what am I deeply grateful for in this moment? Connect with a profound sense of gratitude for being alive, safe, and at peace by filling the last moments of your day with these frequencies of celebration, connection, and gratitude. You are programming your subconscious mind to work on abundance while you sleep. You are closing the day not with a deficit, but with a surplus morning anchor. Midday pivot, night harvest. These 3 touches, practiced with consistency, will become the rhythm of your abundant life. They are the pillars that will sustain your consciousness in a state of flow. Even when the storms of life hit, we have reached the end, but it is in truth the beginning. The key to abundance is not a secret you now possess. It is a truth that you now are. You no longer need to seek it. You only need to remember it. With every breath, with every choice, with every word. You are the river. You are the flow. You are the abundance. Now go and live it. Conclusion. And so we arrive at the end of our journey, the moment when the key we have been studying finally turns in the lock. And the sound it makes is not that of an external treasure chest opening, but of an inner door swinging wide. The greatest revelation of this path is not a complex secret, but a simple, profound truth. The key to abundance was never lost. You have always held it. Its purpose was not to open an external vault, but to open your own eyes to the infinite wealth that already resides within you and all around you. The journey has not been to acquire something you lacked, but to unlearn the layers of scarcity beliefs that concealed your true nature. You are no longer someone who chases wealth. You have become the consciousness of wealth itself, recognizing it in your health, your relationships, your time, and your purpose. Gratitude has ceased to be a task to become the air you breathe. Deservingness is no longer something you seek, but the firm ground you stand on. And giving and receiving is no longer an anxious ledger, but the natural, joyful rhythm of your expanded heart. Take a deep breath right now. Feel the fullness in your lungs, the simple miracle of air filling you effortlessly. That feeling of enough, of being complete here and now, is not something you need to achieve. It is your fundamental state. It is your birthright. You have remembered that you are not an empty glass waiting to be filled by the world, but an inexhaustible source designed to overflow. The flow of abundance is not something you aspire to. It is what you are. This audiobook, this river of knowledge, now joins the ocean of your own experience. And true abundance, like water, stagnates if it is held back, and multiplies when it is shared. If this journey has opened a new door within you and has caused your own source to flow more strongly, I invite you to help this current reach others. Subscribe to our channel to keep your own cup full with a constant flow of inspiration and wisdom. If this message has resonated with you, share it, because every time you do, you become a source of abundance for someone else. And if you have found value in these words, like it. It is a simple action that sends a ripple of this expansive frequency out through the network, helping more people awaken to their own inner wealth. Thank you for your openness, your trust, and your willingness to reclaim the truth of your being. May you live every day from the certainty of your fullness. May your heart remain open to give and receive without measure, and may the universe always reflect back to you the infinite abundance that you already are. Thank you for listening,